and harmonizing with nature. With over 4 decades of changing lives, your self-discovery archaeologist, get ready to be the best of you with your host, Beverly Zeimet.
Hello and welcome to the Beverly Zeimet Show, where being the best you has just gotten easier. My guest today here is Wanda Coleman. She's calling in from somewhere, Ohio. Welcome, Wanda. It's such an honor and a blessing to have you here. Tell the audience a little bit about who you are, what you are, where you are, and all that good stuff.
Well, hello, Beverly. Thank you for having me. My name is Dr. Wanda Coleman. I'm calling from Euclid, Ohio, and that's right outside of Cleveland. We're right next door. So if Cleveland, Ohio is easier for you to remember, I'm there. I grew up in Cleveland. I am an ordained minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and I also work in the marketplace and administration. And I'm just happy and privileged to be here today to be with you and share.
Oh, well, you know what? It's a pleasure having you here because this is a place that we can all come together and give tips and ideas and stories all about being that best you. What can you do daily to become a better you all the time, right? And that's usually leaving the past behind, right? Yes. And also having faith and trust and belief in yourself, right? And in a divine, power, because we all have access to that, regardless of some of the training maybe that we've had in different belief systems and whatever. We are still connected to that divine intelligence, and to be able to work with that in becoming that better you. Doesn't mean you're broke, doesn't mean you need fixing. It means that there's always room for improvement because we live in a duality world. So Wanda, when you're working with people in your ministry, how does that work? I noticed you had a company called W.E.A.R.
Yes, W.E.A.R. That's a ministry God gave me back in like 2012. It's called Women Empowered, Affirmed, and Restored. And it's just a safe space. I have a Facebook group now where women join together just to encourage each other, empower one another, to share stories, to share any tips we may have, to be there for one another. There's a lot of people, especially women, we are nurturers, we wear a lot of hats, and sometimes we need empowerment, sometimes we need to be affirmed in our spirit, sometimes we need to be restored and receive from others because we give out a lot.
Oh gosh, that is so true. That statement right there. We give more to others than we give to ourselves. And truth be known, we can only give to others what we have in ourselves to give.
That's right.
So it's important to be full here, have this inner cup full so that you can be a better giver and expression, right?
Right. Right. I just have a passion to empower, educate, and equip men and women for life and for service. And I know when we're from a life point of view, it's a holistic thing. When your spirit is uplifted, you can operate personally, your personal development. You're more confident in the things that you're doing. And when you're more confident in the things that you're doing, even from a professional point of view, you can go after some things you never thought you would be able to do. So that's what I'm interested in.
Right. And and it does build on confidence, because if you don't have the confidence, you're not going to have the trust. And if you don't have the trust, you don't have the belief.
Yeah.
Right? So they kind of all work together, and it's not like they're far apart. They all smash together really fast, like an accordion, right? They're all over here, and you can see them all written out, But when you squish them together, boom, you get action, because that's what happens when you play an accordion, right? When you're pushing the buttons and the air is coming together, the sound comes out. It's what creates the action. So how do you create the action inside of you to be the outcome that you want outside of you? So it sounds like what you're doing here is you're actually helping people to, like you said, start with that confidence. Now get your trust and belief in yourself, and then have faith, right? Have faith in that divine intelligence that's going to take you in that movement forward. But you have to do one thing. You have
Yeah.
to make the choice to move, to do, right?
Yes, you have to make the choice to move forward. That's really good. For me, for my belief system, for me, I pray, I believe in God, and I just, it's so detrimental to have a foundation, have a
Right.
foundation to build on, because a lot of people are broken. A lot of people are trying to figure some things out and really don't know where to start. So it's important to have a foundation.
It is. You know,
And faith is mine. And I think once you begin to build that foundation, you begin to find out who you are. You begin to know,
right,
be
right,
reaffirmed in your identity
right.
in Him.
Oh,
Yes.
that word identity, that's my passion. That's my passion, right? You know, and I learned that from a very early age. You know, it's because we identify through association, right? And I was tired of being known as, oh, the person over here that makes these things, or so and so's mom, so and so's wife, so and so's this, so and so's such and such lived. Wait a minute, who am I? I have a name. First off, I have a
Right.
name. And when people would say things to me like that, oh yeah, don't you? And I said, no, my name's Beverly, right? This is back in the 70s, right? You talk about dead stare looks, right? Like, huh? Right? And it's like, I wanted to be known for who I am. I mean, my name is a piece of who I am. And then that identity, you know, can start to come out from there. And your personality traits, you know, when we get in habits, they become personality traits. And sometimes to break those from the past. And it's all about living in the now. Actually, I've put together a little program called Living in the Now and Leaving the Past Behind, right?
Okay.
And how you can
Okay.
create. And again, it goes back and it moves into that trust, that faith, that belief, that confidence, all the things we've been talking about. Those are 4 key things, whether it's in your personal development, in your business development, in your relationship development, in your health, you know, it's all
Yes.
the same thing. You've got to have those 4 elements. And I liked what you said about having that base, right? And
Yes.
we as parents, right?
Yes.
There's a structure that I think has kind of got lost. So this situation that's going on in the world today is kind of bringing us back into the family unit, and hopefully
Yes.
will strengthen that structure of that belief of how we are built, you know, and to get the children kind of back on track as to where's your foundation, because
Yes.
those are universal laws that never change, but they kind of
Yes.
got lost, right?
The 4 that you mentioned, I also can refer to them as, what are your non-negotiables in life? So many things are negotiated over time. We
Right.
start out with the foundation, we start out with the basis, and then somewhere along the way, we we lose that foundation, or we stray away from it, and we begin to negotiate those things that we said matter in our lives, and whether we're doing it consciously or unconsciously, or intentionally or unintentionally, we we have to go back to what are the non-negotiables in our lives. These things we
Right.
will not compromise, because they matter to my faith, they matter to my family, they matter to my growth. So this is
Yeah, I like that.
odd time, but it's been a great time of revelation, a great
Yes.
time to see, where do we go from here. We're in a place now where the whole world is considering how we re-enter into something, how we're re-entering into
Right.
society, and we have to pose the question back to us: how are we going to re-enter into some spaces in our lives?
Right.
How are we going to do some things differently, so we won't negotiate those things that matter?
Oh, that is so true. I love that word negotiate. It just went chills all over my body, you know. And again, it's a personal thing how we step out of this and into that outer world again, right?
Right.
And because we were so forced, instantaneous, boom, and it was done on fear, and so a lot of things were happening. We were just responding, not thinking, not even negotiating, right?
Right, just kind of going with it because
Just
they
like
said.
poof, you know. And all of a sudden we're here, and we're like, what the heck just happened? what am I doing here? Right? And now it's almost
Right.
like that buyer's remorse. But that non-negotiable is really a great word, you know, for a lot of aspects and a lot of things in our life, you know. And I, when I work with my clients, you know, I talk to them about that old pattern, that old stuff that no longer serves purpose, right? And how it's
Yeah.
running and how we justify. So I think negotiation and justification kind of run down the same pathway, right? And maybe crisscross each other, right? Because when we become a responsive being, when we are predictable, right? Predictable, because we're living off of all that past old database and its automatic responses. And then when we try something different, or we break out of that and we commit to something new and exciting, you know, because we were in the moment. Yeah, I'll do that for you, no problem. What do you want me to do? Then all this is happening, right? And you're all excited and you're, oh, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. Got my list. Okay, this is what I got to do, right? Now all of a sudden, everybody disperses. And you're looking at this and you're saying, what the hey did I just get into, right? Like, oh my gosh, you know, because now all that back habitual thing starts running through your mind. All these old stories. But remember back when, and this and that, all of that stuff. And all of a sudden you're getting anxious and you're getting nervous and you're getting buyer's remorse and you're like, oh my gosh. Again, see, these are negotiable things, right? When you should be negotiating with that past to say, get the out of here, right? Because this is my now, right? But it's running on autopilot and it's really strong. So what do we do then? We step into the justifications for the excuse we are about to make in the reasoning in our own mind so that we can convince the other person that I unfortunately I really can't do this. I checked my schedule. I did this or something that's an excuse, which is a lie. An excuse is a lie in disguise, right? To get out of what you committed to in that moment of excitement in the now. And so you justify it up here, and then you go to that person and say, I have to back out. And then once you do, then what do? It's like, oh, they're not going to like me anymore. Oh my gosh, what did I just do? Did I jump the gun? Now you're beating the heck up out of yourself. So you see where that vicious circle begins to run? And why, like you said, it's important to understand and know what's negotiable and what isn't. So you don't negotiate your confidence, your trust, your belief, your faith, right? But you negotiate the crap that's preventing you from being what? That better you, right?
That better you.
Right?
That better you. I like what you said. I was listening to you, and it reminded me. I did a Facebook Live yesterday talking about default settings.
Ooh, like
and
that?
We all have default settings, and when you think about it from a program or from a computer, default settings are there because they're supposed to be a little, you know, when you open the program or start using a computer, they're there at the convenience for the user, but they're not meant for long-term use. And when a change happens to the system, we begin to have conflict with those default settings. And a lot of times when change happens within us, when we experience transformation, when we want to, when we evolve, when we begin to be renewed in our mind, we sometimes fear, you know, we fear what we're becoming, and we go back to those default settings. We go back to those comfortable settings. And I am challenging myself not to go back to my default settings. You know, I want to be able to be who I am, you know, who God created me to be. And we can't fully step into that if we keep going back to our past, or if we keep being led by our flesh, or if we won't change our mindset about certain things, we're going to always be in that default mode. So my challenge is to let's move out of that mode.
Yeah. You know, and it's recognizing that default, right? And default doesn't mean it's bad, doesn't mean it's wrong. And that's another, you know, you're talking about mindset, right? Is we got to get past these things because we live in this world of duality. And again, it goes back into that belief in yourself and what you're capable of, and you know, all the stuff from your past that's past. That's what they call it, past, right?
Right.
You know, so when we look at it from that perspective, in the defaults, it's like we have the choice to change. And you know what? We can make a choice to change or to not to change. But that's still a choice,
That's still a
right?
choice.
And when we move out of right and wrong, we move out of good and bad, and we focus on the is. Your is, Wanda, is different from my is, right? And
Right.
everyone's is different because it's a personal thing. So understand your is, and you will always be on the top of it. You'll be on the top of your game. I didn't say you're going to always be right. I said you're going to be
Right.
on the top, right? And it's all those experiences that we have because God put us down here on this planet, right? And it's a big world down here to have what? Free will and experiences. He didn't say get caught up in the crap down there. He said experience, learn from it, take the wisdom, leave the crap, and keep on going because there's so much more out there. I have a lot more out there for you. But if you get
There's a
stuck,
lot more out there, and
yeah,
those things are helping to shape what he put us on the potter's wheel to be. We're still being shaped. And when we hear about that, at some point, the potter likes what he sees, or he may see a defect, and shut that whole thing down and start all over again. And
right,
I just believe we are in a place where we are being reshaped and remolded, to get us to the next place, that wherever
right.
your next place is, whatever your next phase is, whatever the next thing you need to learn is.
Yeah, and there's that word is again, right? That is word, right? It's powerful when you start looking at it from that perspective. I like what you just said about the potter's wheel, right? And so anyone and we're all artistic, but if that's your business and you're creative and you're doing crafts or whatever type of creativity that you're doing, we, the creator of it, right, sees the default, something that's like, oh, it's just not quite perfect, right? Nothing is ever going to be perfect because it's always perfect how it's been created. So think about that. Nothing's perfect, but everything is perfect.
Hmm.
And the only one that's going to really recognize that is the person who designed it and molded it to that matter shape. But anyone out there that's looking at it or observing it is not going to sit there, let's see, where do they screw up, right? No, it doesn't happen that way.
Right.
And eventually, as time goes by, you're not going to see it either because you're seeing the beauty of everything that's around. So when you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm not at default, I'm not defective, I am perfect in the moment of where I am right now. And every day keeps getting better. What can I do to make me a better me today? What can I do every moment to become that better me? Right? And move away from that. So don't squish yourself down. Don't beat yourself up, right? Just keep on going because people are looking at you and you're being the truth of who you are, not a facade. They're not going to pick and nitpick any of these other little things because you know what? They have those little things in themselves too. And the reflection of others helps us to recognize those things, which gives us an opportunity then to, oh, what can I do to make that better? Right? And so we utilize that instead of beating ourselves up because that moves you through to having more adventurous, creative, and fun adventures on the other side of fear. Fear is taught. You're not born with it. It's taught. Okay?
Yeah, yeah. I liked what you just said. I wrote a book 2 years ago called "Taking Off the Makeup: Loving Yourself as God Loves You,"
Mm,
and it uses cosmetic makeup as a metaphor to talk about things that we need to come from behind or take off from a spiritual perspective, and it walks us through the steps of makeup removal. And a lot of times we can't move in the way that we want to move because we're so buried behind
right.
the facades and the masks that we wear. And it's not until we remove those things, that weighs us down, that we can be our true authentic selves. and
Right.
and sometimes when we're doing the makeup removal process, um, depending on what kind of products you're using from a natural perspective. Sometimes it could be cold and it can be a little harsh on the skin, but at the end of the day, the purpose of that is to make sure your true beauty comes out.
Right.
So, just from a spiritual perspective, sometimes some of the things that we're dealing with, we may be dealing with resentment, or we may be dealing with bitterness, or we may be dealing with unforgiveness. Or have all of these different things that we hide behind. And it's not until we address those things that our true beauty is allowed to surface and we can be who we're called to be.
Yeah, oh, that's such a great analogy, and it's so true because we do wear different masks to cover because we think everybody's going to see a flaw. That little teeny thing that when I used my paintbrush, it just, oh, no, what do I do? I can't fix it because you try to fix it and then it smears or whatever, right? It's,
right.
Everyone else is out there thinking and creating and doing the same thing you are. So if you think that they're pointing the finger at you, no, they're pointing the finger at themselves. Right? That's the joke, right? So if you think you're the only one thinking that nobody's going to like me, I have to be this person, or they're not going to like me, I have to do that, or they're not going to like me, I have to... They're thinking the same thing. So it's time to step back and, like you said, remove the makeup, take the mask off, and just be you. Just be you, because you were created in the divine essence of perfection. Go out there and have fun with it. Be in the now. Be in the now. Because if you don't want your past to be your future, you better make it different right here.
That's good.
Right?
That's good. I am at a stage in my life where I'm about to enter into the other half of it. God willing, I'll be 49 years old this year, and I don't have a problem telling my age because I'm blessed to be here. But I know at this stage in my life, I want to do some things differently.
Yeah.
I have had an opportunity to look back over my life and see the past and see mistakes and see those things and learn the lessons that, we go through things to learn lessons. If we're not learning lessons, if we're
then
not
then
learning
why have
lessons,
the experience?
we're not getting it. Yeah, we're not getting it. We're going to go back through it again. We're not passing the test. But
That's right.
I'm at a phase where I want to, yes, I want to be fruitful. I want to be productive. And I'm at a phase where I want to be me. I have accepted myself for how I am created, who I am, and a lot of work has been done on the inside to get me to this place, and I'm protecting that. I don't want to dilute that for anyone.
Oh, that's so perfect. That's so perfect because it does start
in the best version.
The best version, and each day gets better, doesn't it? And,
yes, it does.
And that's great. I'll tell you this, right? When you reach that halfway mark at 50, because we use from 1 to 100, right? So 50 is kind of that plateau. So that struggle going up that mountain can sometimes be a challenge. Then you get up there and you're right there on top of the mountain. You have the whole year to figure out what you're going to do on the other side. Well, it's some of the old beliefs, some of the stuff that's out there that says, it's, now you're over the hill. What does that signify? Oh my gosh, no. But I will tell you this. It gets easier going down that hill than it was coming up that hill.
Oh,
I've been going down that hill for 20 years, okay? So now you know how old I am, right? But I'll tell you, it has been the most excitement, the most adventurous, the most fun I've ever had, right? And I'm excited to get to that next milestone of the 100. Yay!
Oh, wow.
Because now I can start to go to, the next milestone of 150. And then come down, slide up to the 200 mark. Because my goal is to be, 450, 500, that's where I'm headed. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got to teach people how to do that so that I'm not there by myself. But that's okay because I'm okay with meeting new people, right? Yeah. And again, it's the mind. Let's move into this statement, mind over matter. Because that's the statement back in the 70s when I was on the edge of suicide. Because everything in my life was not the way it was supposed to be. And you want to talk about giving God a piece of your mind? Let me tell you. He got a piece of my mind. But as I moved through life and learned more as I kept going, that's not who I gave a piece of my mind to. It was to myself. It was to my higher consciousness of who I was. That's who I was angry with. That's the anger that was filled inside of me, and to get it all out. But at the time, I thought it was God, so it was a good reason. I mean, at least I had somebody to blame, right? And to get it out. Well, move that blaming game behind. And so this voice, I heard this voice, and it said mind over matter. I mean, there were some other things in between, but how I was going to get to where I was going, because I had 3 children at the time. And I was planning my exit. And the voice said, after I got done with my little anger sprout, was, who's going to take care of your kids when you're gone? Oh, crap. I heard my dad's voice say, if you're going to have these kids, you're the one that has to take care of them, because your mother and I are not going to do that. We have enough of our own. Meaning, there was 11 of us, and I was second oldest, right? And so it's like, oh, crap. They're all under the age of 5. That means I got to hang around for a long time. So it's like, okay, let's make a deal. I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, right? And the voice goes, okay. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is too easy. What the heck's going on, right? And then it's like, all right, so if I can have all of these things that you're telling me, how do I get this? How do I do this? And that was the first time I heard mind over matter. No clue what that meant. And I can tell you, back in the 70s, sweetheart, there was nothing like there is today for books and classes and coaching and all that stuff. That was not there, right? So it was really getting into the interior of who I was and connecting with my higher spirit, that connects with the divine intelligence of everything that is. So for me to come through those stages like that, what I did is what's made me who I am today. So it's like, okay, all I did was pay attention. And this voice would tell me, do this, do this, do this. I listened and did. And my life changed. Totally changed. And I got everything that I was asking for. And then some. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's not an oncoming train. Right. But you have to listen and to be aware. So when you talk about mind over matter, when you create it up here in your mind, it then turns into matter down here, whatever that may be, right? Whatever that vision is of yourself, of what you're looking for, whether it's a new car, or a house, or a relationship, or a bicycle, whatever. It's up here. So you're creating in your mind the outcome of matter out here. Now, when you reverse that, matter over mind is everything you've already created and experienced in your past, is the matter that is prevalent in who you are and what you are and everything here. That's weighing you down and keeping you from the future. So the matter is making your mind. It's ruling your mind, which keeps you what? Stuck in the matter. This is all an illusion. Everything around us is an illusion. It was a creation of a thought that turned into the matter. When you quit mattering, it dissolves, and you can create something new and even better. Don't dwell on that. That's learning from your past mistakes. That's learning from your past experiences. That's letting go what no longer serves purpose, so you can make space for the things that are purpose. Because the database of information continuously changes. That's the only constant that's out there. So instead of going matter over mind, take the mind, get back in charge of who you are, and make the matter the outcome to what you want. So being in the now changes what you're going to be experiencing tomorrow, or even in the next moment, even after this conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That was interesting. I was really listening to you, and walked away with a couple of things. One of the things that you did, it sounds like, was surrender to that
Exactly.
place. You surrendered to that higher power, that and it's a lot in that when you surrender. Like I said, I'm using me. I know that others may have other divine powers, but for me, it's God, it's Jesus. When I surrender to what God is doing in my life, because the thing is, when you're fighting against it, you're making matters worse. When you're wrestling with Him on
Yes.
it, you're making matters worse. You're prolonging the situation. And it doesn't have to be as hard if we just surrender. You surrendered and you were obedient. You listened, and whatever
Yes.
He said, you did it. So
Yes.
that whole surrender and obedience, that matters in when we are trying to move forth out of hard spaces and hard places.
Yep.
Sometimes we feel like we're the only ones going through something, and it's not until we have our own awakening, or our, it's not until we get into that
Right.
quiet space and it's revealed to us that you're not alone. And because you're not alone, I'm going to give you some steps that work for you.
Yes.
And if you surrender to this process, and if you are obedient to me, there is light at the end of the tunnel, as you said.
Yes. Oh, beautifully said. Beautifully said. And you know, it really is just that. It is that surrender, and that aha moment. And I developed a little pattern of things that I used in my own life to move past all of that, and I've created some little, shortcuts. And these were things too that I listened to, to put it in this step processing to make it easier for people so they don't have to drudge up and relive and re-experience and go over it all, because it's all distorted anyway, right? So the first thing is to recognize, and that's what we are doing here, is to recognize that there needs to be a change. I recognize something in me that I just don't want to be that way anymore. I want to have that change. I want to have that excitement. Yes, go for it. I'm doing this right, and not have buyer's remorse, right? So when we recognize that, then we can move into the acknowledgement of it. And when we acknowledge it, now it goes into the cell memory, because that's where it's become your truth. It's solidified as truth. It's your personality. It's your automatic response. And you've got to acknowledge it as being truth, even that it's the false truth, because your database has changed now and you don't really believe that. But your cells do, because at the moment it got stuck in there, that was your truth. So you recognize and you acknowledge. Then comes the power to release it, which is that surrender, as you mentioned. Right? Now you surrender, because it no longer serves purpose. Because when there's a battle, and wherever that conflict is, in here or out here, so whatever the battle is, if you want to win the war, you stop the battle. You just stop the battle. Then there's no more war. Inside, outside. Right? So that release is key, because that gives you the aha moment, the relaxing, because now it moves the old database out. Your subconscious is okay to let go of it, because you've recognized it, you've acknowledged it, and you're releasing it, because you're now in communication with that subconscious, saying, that was then, and we got some new stuff. Let's get rid of it. It's almost like bribery when you bribe a kid, and say, no, you don't want to do that. You want to do this, and this is why, right? It's like, if you do this, I'll give you that, right? And then it's, oh, okay. Wow. So your subconscious is kind of like that when you're cleaning that old cell habit stuff out of the way. And then now you have a void. Space does not like void, because what happens is it has to fill it up. We live in a negatively charged world, so what's the first thing to jump in is going to be another negative thought. No. This is your opportunity now to put in there what your new belief is. And so you've done all the hard work. You created the space to write that piece of destiny of what you want to have as your new acclamation, as your new I am from the database current. You dump that in there right on the spot. Bring it all in, right? That feels good. And then you accept that now as your new truth. And I promise you, your life will begin to change. Your freedom, your buyer's remorse goes away. you're going to look and experience yourself differently, and others are going to see and experience you differently, right? Because this is the new version of you, right?
I like what you said about taking out the negative and putting in the positive. And that happens, we have to continue to rehearse, um, be repetitive in that positive,
Right.
because we've been stuck in these negative mindsets and hearing these negative words. We have rehearsed those, and they have been on repeat in our minds as well.
Yes.
So we have to get to a place where we um, are repetitive about our positive affirmations. That the things that we are saying to ourselves to keep us in that positive headspace.
Yes, very true. Very, very true. And sometimes, sometimes it's hard to just say, to stay in that upbeat and positive things. And that's when it's time to reach out. And so this group that you put together is so awesome because it's like, hey, I don't need somebody to tell me what to do. I need somebody to be a sounding board for me. I just need to throw it out there and then just encourage me to say, okay, well, what are you going to do about it? Let's do this, uplift, 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 and be that sounding board because, we all need that. We still are in this human element, right? So you're going to have some of that little topsy-turvy, but you don't have to stay in it. That, again, is choice. You can stay in it for the moment or you can stay in it for eternity. There's your choice. You can...
And
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go
I was
ahead.
just saying, and recognizing too, we have topsy turvy moments with stuff that don't need to be in our space,
Yeah.
but it is some things that we experience that don't feel that good, that are purposeful, and we have to recognize the difference. I think we have to get to a place where we recognize if some of this I'm going through, how is it being used for my good? It doesn't
Right.
feel good, but how is it being used for my good so that I can come out of this differently?
Yeah. Well, sometimes, what we call good makes us uncomfortable. And the reason why it makes us uncomfortable is because it's different from the norm,
Right.
right? So the unpredictable interferes with the predictable, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does.
So when you are predictable in your mood, your actions, all of your responses, you're living back here.
Wow.
You're in
And you're living
your past.
stagnant too.
Oh,
You're
you're
living in
very,
the past, and
you're
you're
very
living in a
stagnant.
complacent, stagnant
Yeah.
place. Yes.
Yeah, and what does that get you? The same thing
Nowhere.
you already got, right? So you talk about insanity. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over,
Yep.
expecting what? A different result. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen, right? So if you want your sanity back, quit doing what you're already doing and getting what you already got.
Yes.
Now that sounds
Yes.
simple. Is it easy? No.
No.
Those two words are not the same. One starts with an E, it's at the beginning of the dictionary. The other starts with an S and is at the end of the dictionary. So you got a lot of space in here to get from
Yes.
easy to simple. Or
Yes.
if you read like the Chinese do backwards, you start from the S and you go to the E. So you start with simple to make it easy, right?
Yeah.
You have a choice.
Yeah.
What direction do you want to go?
And you have wiggle room in the middle of that.
You do.
That middle. Yeah,
Yep.
you have some wiggle rooms. From going from easy to simple. I mean, however it looks, you're gonna have some things that work and does not work. But you have some wiggle room to figure it out before you get to that outcome.
Exactly, exactly. And it's all about don't give up.
That's right.
Don't give up on yourself. And others
That's
won't
right.
give up on you either. So when you put that little group together, I think that is so powerful. So give us a definition of WE.A.R again. Is women
Where is women empowered, affirmed,
affirmed,
restored?
restored. So if you're coming into that group and if you're looking to help empower others and looking to get empowered, what better place to go, right? And to affirm you're on the right track. You're okay. Yes, it's tough. I get it. All right, but keep on going. I promise. I was in that point too. Keep on going. Just encourage them, right?
Right.
And then restore. Restore is such a beautiful word when you really understand restore, because it goes back into the pureness of the essence of your soul. Because when you were created in the divine, you were pure. You were put down here on this planet to experience the duality of everything that is. But to restore yourself now, to get back into the pureness of that soul, walk that awakening, walk that spiritual truth, walk your soul essence, and be that better you every day by allowing the mind to create the matter of your design. You create your destiny when you come from that soul essence of who you are. And that's restoring yourself to the pureness of your soul. Right?
Yes, that's what W.E.A.R stands for. And it's just a safe space, during this time. I've been doing some check-in with the women, just some honest, transparent, how are you doing? Because one day you can be up, one day you can be down. But some days, thankfully, a lot of people have been in a place of peace. A lot of people have been in a place of tapping into their own creativity during this time.
And that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's been eye-opening how a shut-in can pull out so much.
Oh, I like that. A shut-in pulls out. That is so cool. Yeah. It is true. It's given us that time that we didn't have because it was taken up with all the being busy stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so I have all this extra time. What am I going to do? It's like, okay, well, I got it. I guess I could look at myself and see where I could maybe make some changes.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, and I'm sure, Wanda, you have probably discovered this as well, that sometimes when you really start going deep, it don't taste very good. It don't smell very good. It don't feel very good. It don't look very good, and it don't even sound good. And you're like, what the heck am I doing here, right?
Yeah. Why did I even tap this? But it's necessary.
It is.
I have had even before this, I was going through some transition just in life, period. And these past 9-10 months, God has shown me a lot about myself. He's shown me a lot about things that works, and some things that I need to work on.
Right.
And I'm better for it, because now that, in that time, I have had some things slow down for me. I've had some things, and when stuff slow down, you can pay greater attention.
Yes, you can.
So I even this, I'm looking at this as a continuation of that. I'm having an opportunity to pay greater attention to some things that I need to pay attention to, for the physicality of my health, for emotional health, for my mental health, for my spiritual health. These are great times to pay attention to those things and see, am I on the right track? Is there something out of order? And now I have an opportunity to address it.
And that's so beautifully said. And our listeners can really learn a lot about that. Hey guys, comment below here. Listen to what this woman is saying. I mean, it's beautiful, right? Where can you get information out there that is coming from the heart? And that's what this show is all about. If you like this show, comment below. Let us know. We can't read your mind. Comment below. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. Tell us what you want to hear more about. This show belongs to you, the listeners out there. What is it that you want? What kind of speakers do you want me to put on here? What are subjects you want me to talk about? That's making this yours. That's all about becoming that better you. And wow, the tips and the sharing that Wanda has done here today is definitely going to change how we think. Give us food for thought. And that's what it's all about. But it doesn't matter how much of this information comes out. What matters is what you do with it. Because without action, knowledge is just that, information, right?
Right. That was good.
Yeah.
That was good. This
So,
has been a good time.
well, good. Can our listeners join your group?
Yes, well, it's for women, so it's faith based. So I just want to let them know that we welcome all women, but I want people to know what what the group is. It's a faith based, and go to the Facebook W.E.A.R. Women Empowered Affirmed Restored. We would love to have you.
That's awesome. So you guys, listen up. Go out there. Well, I shouldn't say guys. I say women, right? So women, listen up. Go out there and get into this group. And you all have something to offer. And you all have something to receive. And it is about unison. We are all one. And the sooner we get that, and the sooner we start living as one unit. Oh my gosh. And God said what? I created you in the likeness, in the image of myself. And that's pureness of what is, right? So when we look at God, it's not something out there. It's God isn't out here in the space. I mean, he is, but he isn't. She is, she isn't. Where is she first? Where is God first? In here. So there is an old saying, I heard this years and years ago, is God was thinking about, what can I do? How can I make it really simple, not easy, simple, where people can find me no matter where they are, what they're doing. And he says, brilliant. I'll just put me inside of them. Where do we go to look for God? Out here.
Yeah, but we need
in
to
here.
We look in our hearts. He lives within our hearts.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important for the heart to be in the right condition.
Right. The heart has a mind of its own. All right.
Yes, it does.
We think when we talk about mind, we think mind is the brain. No, the brain is the database of information. It's kind of like your hard drive on your computer. That's your brain. And it sends the messages all over the rest of the body to make it do what, function properly, make your hands move and your legs go and your eyes blink and all that kind of stuff, right? That's your brain. Now, what is in this brain is the programming that comes from outside of the source, which is the mind. So when you buy a computer, it has a hard drive. It has the basics, like you said, the default settings.
Yeah.
Right there, so that it can function. But it's very minimal. And you have all this other space to do what? Put different programs in, put different information, your database, everything goes in to that hard drive. And then you recall it by pushing certain buttons, right? Poof, and it's up there here on the face of your screen. Your brain is that same thing. The mind is the programming and stuff that we allow to come into. So our belief is what ignites the brain. What the mind can conceive and believe, it will achieve. So your creativeness of whatever it is in the database of information, how you form that into matter is what you place inside this brain. Then the brain says, okay, I need to respond this way. Now the heart is a mind of its own. It's not a brain. It's a mind of its own that shares feeling and triggers all of your other emotions, all of your other senses. So when you come from the heart, and the heart's mind is love. Love conquers all. So when you can connect with the heart, now the mind of the heart and the mind of the higher intelligence, of the essence, of the spirit, of who you are, of the God essence, right? Those two come together and work in unison to alter and change your truth, your belief, your confidence, and your faith, right? So we go back to those four essentials again, right? So how are you performing? Are you responding from your heart? Are you allowing your brain that you filled with all of this database to run and rule your life? You, my friend, are in charge of what goes on. I didn't say control. Control and charge is two different things. So you take charge of what your mind is capable of doing to fill your brain with the responses you want in this matter, body, right? But connect with your heart. When you connect with your heart, everything changes. Because the heart is nothing but pure essence of love, which is the pure essence of the God, right? Of the divine intelligence. So how do you put that together? I wrote a book a few years ago called The Power of the Mind, right? Which is the mind and heart connection, right? So it's the power formula. That power formula is the mind and the heart conjunct. Does that make sense?
Okay. Okay. I was listening to you. Keep going with that.
She says keep going with that. Buy the book, okay?
Yeah. I guess what I want to say about that, when I consider the heart, you can get a true pulse of where you are in your heart. And that's why when you're making a decision or something like that, people ask you, well, what does your heart say? Because you're responding out of what's here, and if what's in here is not pure or is dark or has been tainted, what are you doing to ensure that the heart is in the right condition? So we want to make sure that to be the best versions of ourselves, getting back to that, we want to be able to think, have our mindset together, but also have our heart right.
Right. And those two really do connect with each other, and understanding that heart element, and again, this duality world, right? So where there is one, there is the opposite of. You have your pendulum swinging. So you got everything over on this side and everything over on this side. The key is to bring it back into the center where there is harmony. Okay? When you can recognize you're way over here too much in the positive charge of things, or way over here in the negative charge of things, too much of a good thing is not necessarily a good thing. It's all about bringing it back to the center in harmony. And that center is you. And when you center yourself, you center your heart, you center your mind. Right? Your belief, your truth, your confidence, and your faith are one, walking down this little path of harmony.
That's balance.
Exactly right.
That's balance, exactly. Steady balance. Yes.
Okay. Oh my gosh, Wanda, this has been so much fun having you here.
This has been good. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. And if you guys want to get a hold of her, look up W.E.A.R, right? Go out there and see what you can find. She has a website too at www.wandamcoleman.org. She's a beautiful spirit. She knows what it's all about. She's right there working beside you because she's becoming that better her every day and what she's doing. She's almost at the peak of that first mountain.
But we got some climbing to do though. Thank you, Beverly.
Thank you, and we'll definitely have to stay in touch, get you back on the show. So everyone, comment below. Let us know what you liked most about this show, and again, what you'd like to hear more about in coming shows. So now it's time to say, go out there and be that best you that you can be, because Wanda and I are going to go out there and be that best we can be, right?
Right.
See you all in the next show.
Bye.